Hey there, I'm Chris Linder from Alpine Mountain Bike Training. This presentation is going to be about progression, which is a huge thing in mountain biking. So, what is progressive overload and how do you build it into your training? So, progressive overload is the increasing quantity and quality of workload during training sessions. So, this is used to stimulate a stronger, more resilient body that can endure a greater workload than it was previously able to. And it should be included in all forms of your training, everything from strength and power training, mobility, endurance training, and within your skills as well as overall increasing the total workload your body can sustain to help you ride faster and more efficiently on the trail. So monitoring progress first is an important thing. So first, having some sort of testing protocol in place, and testing can go in many different directions and areas. Common ones you'll see in cycling and mountain biking is the functional threshold power test. There's a number of these tests to do, which is I'm not going to get into in this presentation. You can do a power profile test, which is testing your 5-second max power, your 1 minute max power, as well as your 5-minute max power, as well as some other times if they're important to you for certain events or certain reasons in your training. Testing your strength with rep maximum testing. This is the max number of max number of reps you can do for a certain weight, or such as like whether it's 1 or 3 rep maximum testing, or testing out what's the max weight you can lift for total 10 reps. Your movement quality through a movement assessment is very beneficial to do. You can also use race results, Strava segments, or any other ways of monitoring progression, some of which I get into in this presentation. Keeping track. There's many ways of keeping track. You can keep a logbook, a journal. There's data analysis websites such as intervals.icu, which is one I find very beneficial, as well as Training Peaks, which is one of the more popular ones of data analysis during cycling. You can use video analysis. This is beneficial with the movement quality as well as mountain bike skill analysis and testing, looking for progression, as well as you can use apps. Certain apps sometimes record your weights and your reps lifted, as well as also making your own spreadsheet. Progress is not linear. Unfortunately, you can't just keep practicing and training over and over again and you'll see a general upward climb. You're going to see what the picture in the background looks like. It's going to be a bunch of peaks and valleys. You're going to progress and progress. Something's going to happen, whether it's rest periods of times, getting fatigued, hopefully not injured, or a number of other things that can come up in your life that will affect your training. So you will have to adjust and be understanding that you won't always get better and better and better. Plateaus and regressions do occur. Methods of progression. The chart on the right here is something I found from a personal trainer called Brett Contreras, which is a really useful little graphic to look at to consider the different ways that you can progress in your training. This one is mostly just focused on resistance training and strength training ways of progressing. I'm going to go into even more of how you can progress, not just in the gym and or on your structured training rides, but also progress in your mountain bike skills as well as on the trail. Frequently, intensity and volume is not always possible. Those are the two most common ones, as I'll speak about later. A good way is to look for less common ways that progression can occur. So you can get creative when plateaus occur, or it's just in certain areas of your training because of focus on other areas. Can you at least still try to progress in some unique way versus just adding weight and volume and intensity to your training? So intensity, as I mentioned, is the most common thing people think about. So intensity is adding load, like adding weight to your weightlifting, adding more power or more higher heart rates or a higher percentage of your FTP during rides and intervals, increasing the jump height and how far you jump in your plyometrics, generally just making it harder. This is almost always built into a training program and suggested, and it is very beneficial. As I said, it's not always possible, which is why I am doing this little presentation for you. Volume. If it's not the second most common form of progression, it is equal with intensity. So basically, it is, one way of doing it, looking at it, is increasing total reps. So this can be increasing the number of reps you lift for a certain weight. So say you're lifting 150 pounds, you can do a workout with 3 sets of 8 reps, and you progress to being able to do 3 sets of 10 reps. This means you're doing a total of 6 more reps with the same weight. Another way is adding sets within a workout. So you do 3 by 8 reps and progressing to 4 by 8 reps. So you're adding a total of 8 reps. This method is also great for conditioning workouts with complexes as circuits. So adding circuits as you go to add more volume as your fitness improves, to keep increasing the load on your body, as well as increasing total number of intervals or total work time, or I guess time under work within your structured ride. So the little screenshots I grabbed of a structured ride, these are all the same length of interval. So one is 3 intervals, the other one on the right is 5 intervals. So you're getting that much more workload. You're also increasing the total time of the workout in that case. So that moved me straight into the duration portion of volume. So it's increasing the time or distance at the same intensity. This is very good for your aerobic endurance training within zone 2. You can increase the length of the intervals. So in this is considering the total time you spend in your zone. So the pictures I pasted here are there's still 4 intervals, but each of them is a longer interval, which also increases the total workout time. This is possible in strength training, but consider how much ability to recover and how much fatigue strength training builds creates in your training program. This is especially important when you have multiple things you are training as, and you're training your endurance. You might be on bike, riding trails, racing. This is where other forms can really benefit you within strength training, instead of trying to add more reps, more sets, more time in the weight room. So finally, the final piece of volume is frequency. So basically, how many training sessions do you do? So you're adding more sessions per week. This is great because it increases your total work capacity, because you have less time to recover between workouts. So you have to optimize your recovery methods, and if you can adapt your body to this increased stress of more training sessions per week, you will be able to train hard one day while still being able to go out and train. Very beneficial for riding multiple days in a row, or stage races, or even enduro and downhill races where there's multiple days, maybe one or multiple days of practice along with a race day. Caution needs to be had properly progressing into many days a week of training. An example would be trying to get 5 or more training sessions in per week. If you're currently only training 2 to 3 days a week and you suddenly want to bump it up to 4, 5, 6 days a week, consider not just jumping straight up to 5 or 6 days a week, is progressing over a period of time to allow your body to adapt that level of workload. Density is the next one. So this is performing more work within a period of time. So you can reduce the total time to complete a workout. So you're doing the same amount of workload with less rest. So an example is 10-minute intervals with 5-minute rest, and moving the rest intervals to 3 minutes of rest. So you'll be completing that section of the workout in about 6, I guess it depends on how many intervals you do, but 2 minutes per interval is the period of time that would be reduced from the total workout. You can increase work in the same amount of time. This can be in a workout like max sets for a period of time. And this is great to do as your fitness improves when you're trying to improve your metabolic conditioning. An example in structured rides would be like doing 3 sets of 10 intervals with 5 minutes of rest. So it will give you 30 minutes of work and approximately 40 minutes of total time. But if you move to doing 8 intervals of 4 minutes with 1 minute rest, you will be doing 32 minutes of work with, again, approximately 40 minutes of total time. And this is more sets with less rest, and these intervals will be performed with a similar level of intensity. And the benefits: fatigue resistance. Your body can learn to perform more efficiently at the same speed or even faster speed under this fatigue, so then you do not fatigue as quickly. Very important for mountain bike racing or riding really big, long downhills on your trail bike. Moving on, perceived effort. This is very useful if you don't use heart rate or power data, but it's also beneficial when you are monitoring if you're progressing on when stuff like adding weights or adding reps is not always possible. So you can just put more effort into a workout, as in more concentration, and all the reducing rest intervals and adding workload will cause this. But a way of monitoring progress is if you do the same workout, as in same weight, same reps, or same intensity on the bike with the same number of intervals, or on a familiar ride that you have done in the past, and you suddenly feel like it's not as hard. You don't feel as tired. As well, on the mountain bike skill component, if you feel less mental tension, less anxiety, less sketchiness on a trail feature, this indicates that you're progressing, you're riding smoother, and your skills are improving. As well as as an example, Strava times, if you feel like you are going just as fast, or you don't feel like you're redlined and going as fast as you can, but you've seen your Strava times improving, this is a very cool way to notice progression on the trail. Range of motion. So the obvious is you're increasing your range of motion, your mobility and flexibility exercises, as well as increasing range of motion within weight training. I do put a caution here to make sure you do have the load or have the ability to move in that range of motion until you load it. So if you're trying to get deeper in a squat or do a windmill at a more range of motion, make sure you can do it unloaded. Don't use the weight to push your body into a range that is not necessarily safe to go into. Okay, technique. I have two parts of this. First is improving your quality of your technique. As I alluded to in the perceived exertion slide, improving your exercise form will lead to a less perceived effort. So in the weight room, this is great to do, as in you improve your technique, whereas you might have had a few form breakdowns as you got to your last few reps, or you had a few little cheating movements come in. As well as if, say, an exercise has like a 20-pound dumbbell and you're maxing out for a certain number of reps, but adding 5 pounds is a 25% increase, and you might drastically reduce the number of reps you can do. So really improving the quality of your movement, your technique, is a very good way in this instance. And then improving your technique in riding skills and on trail features. I really love using video analysis for it. Even as a coach, when I'm on trail, I use it to monitor my clients, as well as monitor myself, so I can get that feedback. Another way is feeling like you're thriving on the trail versus surviving, and that sketchiness feeling or flow state feeling you can get. And then perceived exertion is if you feel like you're not working as hard on certain trail features, it means your skills are improving. So second part of technique is improving the complexity of the movement. So this increases the coordination demands of the movement, as well as the timing of the skill. A caution I'll add is to make sure your simple foundational movements and skills are mastered before adding components, especially when technical trail features are needed or a weight is needed to get a training effect. Because if your body's not ready can't perform foundation movements and skills first, and you add some level of complexity, whether it's another part of the body or more complexity on the trail, you are setting yourself up for increased risk of injury or crashing. So examples I have of this. So I have a hip hinge on the left and a windmill on the right. So the foundation is the hip hinge, a single joint movement, and then the multi-joint movement is the windmill, which is the hips are moving slightly differently, as well as the upper body is rotating. This can be brought in many ways in the gym or mobility training or strength training. So changing the timing of the skill. So I'm using cone drills as the example here. So space the cones out symmetrical, lets your body get into a flow as you corner around the cones. If you mix up the orientation of the cones, this changes your timing and the coordination you have to do while you corner. So you have to be more aware and time your skills of cornering differently. Now combining skills. So two examples I have here. One is hopping in and out of a corner, and the other one is cornering after a drop. Cornering from a drop, so hiding off a drop and then cornering. Honestly, these are common things on trail, but if you don't practice them in a undistracted environment where you're not worried about the next trail feature to the next trail feature, these are very beneficial to make sure you're performing each component correctly. So I can make sure I'm cornering correctly before I hop into the next corner, or the drop I can make sure my body position is centered and my body position is centered and I'm going off the drop correctly, in balance and in control before I corner. Because if I do go off the drop not in centered and in balance, I might not be able to make the corner as efficiently. Relative strength and power, very common in cycling, especially with the watts per kilogram. So if you're able to increase your power and keep your body weight the same, or both, and lower your body weight, that's a big bonus, but not always easy to do in practice, you're become a fitter, stronger, faster cyclist. So some combination of increasing endurance, power, strength, and muscle mass can all lead to increase in relative power. Losing body weight, not just on the bike, but also lifting the same amount of weight, can make you a much stronger athlete, because it increases your relative strength. So if you're keeping your muscle mass the same, but increasing keeping muscle mass the same, but reducing your body weight by reducing body fat, and you keep your weight lifted, this is very beneficial, and it will transfer over the bike, because you all have technically more strength compared to the amount of weight of your body as well as your bike. Increasing body weight through muscle mass and being able to maintain body weight exercises is also a way of monitoring progression. So say you can do 10 push-ups or 10 inverted rows, and your body weight goes up 5 to 10 pounds because of your increasing muscle mass. This is an awesome way to watch progression if you're not seeing you're progressing in total number of reps in exercises like those. Increasing muscle activation, consciously or unconsciously. So consciously, if you have a mental focus on making sure a muscle contracts stronger, very common in rehabilitation environments, but also beneficial in performance environments. If you find a certain muscle is not getting sore, or you're not performing that well at a certain movement. This is commonly seen when you get new soreness in a muscle after an exercise that you used to not be. Common in mid-back muscles during postural exercise, as well as glutes. I just had a client recently say, hey, my glute is finally sore doing a one-legged squat, and it hasn't been for months or years. This was partially from conscious, but also partially unconscious of doing some other exercises that helped activate not just your glutes, but other muscles involved in the single leg squat. Overall, this helps you gain awareness of how your body and how your muscles work together, which makes you much more aware of how your body moves in space and improves your body as an athletic organism. So I hope you found this beneficial. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or discussions, depending on where you're watching this video, if you're watching it on YouTube or another social media channel, please leave a comment, send me a direct message, give me a like and subscribe. If you're watching this within a coaching group or as a client of mine, please email me or make a comment to create some discussion in our training group chat. Anyways, thank you again. Have a great day.